right, welcome everybody to another episode of the Lori and Tall Paul Show. I'm Lori Heinzelman, career transition coach, and I am joined by Tall Paul Olson.
Hello, everyone.
All right, so Paul wanted to talk about, I don't know, stuff that's work
I want to
relatable
talk about your great newsletter from January.
yes, we were going to talk about my newsletter from January, which has a whole bunch of stuff in there. But one particular point stood out to Paul, and I'm going to have him share that with you before we really get going in the conversation.
Yeah, so you wrote January newsletter is titled Building Future Leaders, Four Commitments That Matter. In today's fast-moving world, leadership isn't just about delivering results, it's about developing people who can lead long after you're gone. The most impactful leaders I know don't hoard control or micromanage outcomes. Instead, they invest in others with intention and trust. And the four commitments that you list here are develop people on purpose, trust them before they're ready, lead with empathy, not ego, and give autonomy with guardrails. So I thought we could cover each one of those
That sounds good to
um,
me.
today. Um, so, and this is why this hit me as something to cover. I think we've talked about a little bit of this in a previous episode. I can't remember, but I heard of another round of layoffs, like huge layoffs, and I think it was UPS or somebody who just laid off like 30,000 people. And and when I see that, I just think to myself, how many leadership failures occurred, in order to cause you to lay off 30,000 people. And I know that's probably just a tiny percentage of their total workforce, but still, it's a lot of people, you know. And it just makes me wonder what is happening with leadership inside companies. And this is an annual thing. This is not like a one-time UPS thing. Like, oh man, UPS just had a bad quarter, right? I mean, it's like this happens every year. All
Yeah,
the big companies do this every single year, and they're hiring and then they're laying off, and they're hiring and they're laying off. Um,
Amazon was one too that just
yeah,
recently let some people go.
yeah.
What I find interesting is what you said about how many leadership mistakes must have happened in order for this to occur. Tell me a little bit more about that before we move on to building leaders.
Okay, to be fair, maybe they're not all leadership mistakes. I mean, some of these companies probably do this stuff on purpose. Some of this stuff is maybe seasonal, right? Maybe some of these UPS workers were seasonal because of the holidays or something. Um, and so it's just now kind of catching up, So they're letting all these, maybe they were all part-time seasonal people. Okay, that could totally be the case.
That's a good point, right? Like
Right.
looking
Yeah.
at it from another angle, we don't know, but
Right. Uh-huh. Um, At the same time, though, it's like, so to kind of, I guess I would, maybe we don't always focus on the huge company that might be seasonal, but let's just focus on a smaller company that has to lay off 40 people. Okay. Well, if you're a small company, let's say you have 300 employees, and one year you have to lay off 40 people. Well, somewhere along the way, you miscalculated something. Either you miscalculated, your strategy was flawed in some way, and you didn't do enough maybe market research, or you didn't understand the sandbox you were going to try to play in. You didn't understand it well enough, which means either you didn't do the research right, or you didn't listen to your team, or you didn't talk to your employees. Maybe you weren't prepared for it. Maybe you didn't have the things in place at the company. Maybe you didn't have the right employees in the right roles. Maybe you thought your machines could do something that they really couldn't. And so these are all examples of like leadership mistakes that companies can make. where they end up having to lay people off. They might hire 40 people because they're like, oh man, this is going to be great. And, it looks like, we've already increased sales by, 1%, and we think it's going to keep going, but you miscalculated. So you hired too many people too soon, miscalculated, you didn't hit the numbers, and now you got to let people go.
So you hired too many people too soon, or maybe you didn't hire the right people. And this kind of goes back to what you said earlier when you and I were talking about when you hear so many people say they don't have the talent, right,
Oh,
for
I hate that term. Oh, yeah, I hate
leadership,
that.
or that we don't have the talent. So that's why they got to bring someone else in, right? We got to
Okay, yeah.
hire.
So this gets to number one in your newsletter, right? Develop
Mhm.
people on purpose. So I know some people who have the opinion that it is not a manager's job to develop people. Like it's not a manager's job to develop you. It's your job to develop yourself. Okay, so I totally disagree with that. And you mentioned something in here because when you develop others, you create capacity. Okay. But also, when you develop others, you understand who they are and what their strengths and weaknesses are. And now you have, okay, it's terrible to call them a chess piece, but they're a person, right? But I think everybody
Right.
gets what I'm saying.
Yes.
Okay. Because you're playing the game of business. Okay. Um, but now you understand how to use that person, how to position them best in the company so that they are operating out of a position of strength and you're getting maximum productivity out of them, right?
Yes. So
So
think about
that's
it.
developing somebody on purpose. So if you say, I don't have the right people in-house, and that's why you don't promote from within, you're always hiring from the outside. Well, what's wrong with your hiring process? Why aren't you hiring people that you can promote? Why don't you know who you can promote? Like you should know, number one, you should know your business well enough and you should understand all the roles. You should understand something called the core function, right? The core function of a company, let's say the core function of a restaurant. If I asked you, let's role play real quick. If I asked you, Lori, what's the core function of a restaurant? Meaning the one thing a restaurant has got to do in order to sustain and grow.
We'll have customers. Bring customers in to eat their food.
Okay, it goes deeper than that. So the core function of a restaurant is to ensure that every plate is profitable. If a restaurant does that, a restaurant can sustain because it will always have profit, so it can sustain itself and grow. So when you think about core function, you got to get really, really down to the nitty-gritty of it. And it's the same thing with roles at a company, right? So a I told you I'm having trouble pulling things out of my brain today, but eh, you should understand what the core function is of every role. So what exactly does that role need to do? Okay. Oh,
Yes.
good example is I think I've done this maybe before, sales, right? Core function, the core function of a salesperson have is to express value to qualified prospects who are in the buying stage, uh, and to express that value in a way that influences them to buy. That's the core function of a sales rep. It's not to make phone calls, right? It's not to send emails. It's to have quality conversations with the right people and understand their pain so much and understand the value of your product so much that you can use the right words to influence them to buy.
So to expand on that a little bit, this is what we call in the IO space a thorough job analysis. So you have to conduct a thorough job analysis on if we're going to use salespeople, what a salesperson does from the day to day. What does that look like? So that you can hire the right talent. Because that's what you talked about in the beginning, right? It's the
Yeah.
selection process. Who are you bringing in? Are you
Mhm.
bringing in people just to fill a need, or are you bringing in the people that have the right skill sets and the right abilities to perform the job in a way that it needs to be performed successfully? And a thorough job analysis is what a lot of companies do not do, because that's the
Hmm.
first step to finding the right person. Is so you need to observe the person in their day-to-day job, conduct interviews, and then have conversations with people who do that job, who have done it well, people we consider experts, to really understand what you should be looking for in the selection process when you hire. If you do that right, then you are able to scan your candidates and find those people that fit that need because they have the skills and strengths. Then you have the talent to first perform the job, and then that talent, that person that's already in that role, you're able to develop into a leader by taking the time to coach, mentor, and give them challenging assignments.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned in their skills and strengths, right?
Yes.
So to take it further, or maybe they already do take it further, but just based on what I heard from you there, to kind of take that idea further and tie it back to leadership, because in leadership, what we should be doing is giving all of our people strengths and weakness assessments
Hmm.
so that we understand where their strengths are. And then as a business owner, we should be doing what's that called again? The
The
thorough
job analysis, a thorough
job
job
analysis.
analysis.
Well,
Yes.
when we're doing that, we should also be thinking of it through the lens of what strengths, what is the core function of this role, and what strengths does that require? And what duties have we put into this thorough job description that match the strengths? And what duties have we put into this thorough job description that are actually would be weaknesses for someone who has these strengths? And let's take the weaknesses out because a lot of times what we do is we just pack job descriptions, right? People end up, we hire somebody, especially if you're like a startup, right? You're just trying to fill seats and you're trying to give yourself capacity so you fill seats and then you pack job descriptions with all this stuff because that's what you did as the owner when you started the company. You wore 12 hats. So, okay, now you got to wear 12 hats because I got to wear 10 hats. I got to wear two hats less, right? So now you wear 12 hats and we don't think about it. And then the job description never changes. And then so everybody who fills that role has to do all the things that are in there, even if some of those things are weaknesses of that person. But this way, if you strip away the stuff that is weaknesses for the person who has the strengths you need, now you have somebody who's purely operating out of strengths. And you, as the business owner, know what their strengths are. You know what they're really good at. And you should have a power player there. If you do that with every role and you can design it so that you take those weaknesses are somebody else's strengths. So you could design it so you give those weaknesses to somebody else, even though it serves another role, right?
That's what we call job design.
Job design, exactly. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. But companies don't do that.
No, they
Companies
don't.
just, they get in a rut and they're like, well, I don't know, I need a salesperson. I just need somebody on the phone making calls.
And
They
so
don't
many
really care.
companies do not do that. You're right, Paul. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna one of those people that's trying to influence that space, because if you
Hmm.
take the time to set it up right in the beginning, right? Or even if you're in the middle and you have to restructure now and take that time to do it, you're gonna hire people who will be successful in that position. You'll have less turnover, which is why this is important. And then
Hmm.
taking it back to developing people on purpose, you're still gonna have the same person you hired 3 years ago because they want to work there. They're doing well in the role because you did the thorough job analysis and maybe did some rework of the job design. And when you work on that person, you coach, you mentor, you challenge them, you try to give them assignments to help them grow. We talked about this. You build capacity for yourself because that
Hmm.
frees up some of your capacity. Now you have someone else who can do some of the work for you, right? You can delegate that. They're able to take more ownership on that. But it allows you as a leader to promote out of your job because now you have someone ready to take your place. If you
Right.
don't ever develop anyone else and get them ready to take over your position, you can't advance.
Yeah, you're bringing in power players. They are working within their strength, so they're going to be happy and engaged because they are naturally operating in their strength every day. And then as a business owner, how, how many of us start a business because we're like, well, I want the freedom. I want freedom to do whatever I want whenever I want. But, 85% of the time, we all get stuck in the business. We're just stuck in the business because we don't bring people on with this mindset of designing the role, of doing a thorough job analysis. And so we get stuck. This is why you want to develop people so that you could get yourself out of the day-to-day of your business. You could live the life with the freedom that you always said you wanted when you started the business.
You're right. Yes. And whether you own your own business like us or you're someone, that's in finance somewhere, yeah, your goal is to move up probably or out or something. And if you develop people and you have a good team that you can leave alone for a moment to go and take care of some of those, you're actually helping yourself as well.
I'm
Um,
glad you mentioned that in finance because if you develop the people below you so that they can take over your job, if you are ambitious, you're going to do that. Okay. And when you do that, as you develop them to take over your job, now you know you have people who can take over your job, right? And that shouldn't be a threat to you because now you are prepared to move on to the next step. And what you get to do is you get to go into rooms with people who could hire you into the next step. And you get to have the same kind of conversations that they have every day, conversations about the same stuff they have every day, because what they're talking about is managing down, right? Managing their people. And now you get to tell them how you're managing your people.
Right. And so I like how you said that because think about it. Those people that say, I don't have the time. I don't have the time to help somebody else get better. I don't have the time to help them with their training and their development. They can do it on their own. What if someone did that to you? What if you
Right.
were the manager or the director and you wanted to move into the next role and that VP or director did not want to take the time having those conversations with you or sharing their strategy or developing you or sending you to the next level training? How would that make you feel? So sometimes just putting yourself in that space can help you see why it's so valuable to develop the next set of leaders. And I think that sort
Yeah.
of leads into the next part, number two in my newsletter, where we talk about trust them before they're ready. Um, Trust them before they're ready, but also trust them when they're ready. Okay, and I say this both ways because I know that there are people who are ready. They're definitely ready, and they hit a brick wall because the leaders just don't want to extend the opportunity to them. They don't want to help them grow. They don't want to give up their spot, their power, whatever it might be. But then sometimes you have people who you see that opportunity in them and they don't think they're ready. They're not ready yet. Everything has to be perfect, or I can't be a leader. I can't speak up. I'm not able to take over this area of finance or sales, whatever it might be. And so when you start to develop people on person, you may also have to push some of those people to help them see their own potential.
Yeah, in those cases, you could say as the leader, you could say, let's just do small tests if you're worried about it. Like I think you're ready. But look, if you're worried about it, let's just do small tests. I will give you one thing at a time to handle, okay? And I'll do so in a way that gives you visibility so that the people, at my level or above my level get a chance to see you in action and they get a chance to understand that you are doing things that are at my level and you can handle it, but we're going to do it one thing at a time. We're going to do it slowly. Okay. So you don't feel this pressure of like all of a sudden all this weight is on you. The
And
other
it's how
thing is
people get confident.
right. Yeah. The other thing is from the other side then. right? So these are some things that I've been helping my wife with at her job, right? Because she's like, well, how do I show the managers that I'm capable of X, Y, Z? And the thing that I tell people is, well, you have to figure out what their problems are that they're dealing with every day and find ways to solve them. Find ways to either be a solution or offer a solution, right?
Hmm.
So, no doubt your manager has to give reports. Okay. So, what is something easy you can do? You can make sure your manager is getting clean, good data or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, figure out a way to be helpful and help help add to help solve a problem that they need resolved. Um, what do you think about that?
I think that's a really good idea for the follower or the worker who is wanting to move into a leadership role or take on more responsibility. Definitely seek to where you can support. Even ask for those opportunities, right? What else can I do? How else can I help you? Or I'm looking to grow in my development. What type of work can I take on? What are some extra projects I could do that might help me to grow in this area? So you're not asking for training necessarily, but you're asking for development or opportunities at work that will help you participate or support or learn new skills. But what I was going to say, trust them before they're ready here. This trust is a tough part, is tough. So I say here, trust is a catalyst because as soon as you exhibit trust in someone, they are willing to move mountains for you. This person trusts me. They believe in me, right? I will help them. I will support your ideas. And this is how you give people the confidence because you trust them with the work. And when you give them an assignment, what? I've never had to put together this full report, like you said before. I've never done it before. It's okay. I trust in you. I know that you've got this. It's all right. And if they make a mistake or they don't do it quite right, it's still trusting them to get the job done and then helping them, showing them how they can do it better next time. That's how you build confidence. But where some leaders lack in this space is they don't trust the people to do a good job, whether they're ready or not. They want to micromanage. They want you to do it their way. They belittle you. And when you fail or make a mistake, they look at as that's it. You failed, you couldn't do it. You're not capable of doing this job, rather than looking at failure as a way to grow, because that's how we learn. Fail
Yeah.
fast, fail early, fail often.
Yeah, I have a phrase that I like to use. It's the start is not the end. And
Hey, I say the same thing.
if you're in that position, wait a second.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think you
So
stole
I
that
say
from
it.
me and I stole that from you.
No, I say it different. I say it slightly different, which is crazy. That's how we came to be. The start is not the end. I say it a little bit differently. I say you're not going to end up where you started.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea is the same though, right?
Yes.
So if you fail at something, so what? That's not the end of it. That's just the start of it.
Yes.
You just started trying. So give yourself some slack, man, just relax about it.
Yeah, that's so crazy because sometimes we beat ourselves up so much, right? Is where we're only here, but where you're going to end up takes all that hard work, takes those
Yeah.
baby
You
steps,
need the
takes
lessons,
yes,
right?
takes the failures, the experiences.
You're not nobody's an expert right out of the gate. You got to take time. You have to learn all this stuff,
What?
then you become an expert. So, and the oh man, I was going to add on to something you said there about the trust, trust them before. Oh, um, and it comes to delegating. The other thing is when you delegate, you got to delegate with enough time. This is another problem that leaders have or that people have in general
Hmm.
is what by the time they think about delegating something, they are already overwhelmed with it and probably the deadline's coming up quick. So they're like, well, it's just easier if I do it, right? Because we don't have time. I got to turn this in 3 days. So it's just easier if I do it. So you need to plan ahead when you're going to delegate so that you could give the person time to understand what they're trying to do, ask questions about what you want them to do, take shots at it, and get your feedback before they can really run with it, right? So you got to delegate early. Don't wait on it.
And give enough guidance when you delegate. Don't
Hmm.
expect the person you delegate to know everything about it, particularly if it's their very first time doing it. And knowing which tools to use, whatever it is, right? Don't just say, hey, go out there and create some social media content, for instance. If you got to give some guardrails, which is actually, that's number four. So we skipped three to number four, but give autonomy with guardrails. So when you're delegating, don't micromanage the process.
Hmm.
Give that person autonomy to figure it out for themselves, solve that problem, make a decision. Maybe they don't do it the way that you do, but I have it here. Set the direction, define the boundaries, and step back.
Hmm. What's the outcome you want, right?
Yes.
What's the outcome? Just let them have the process if you can. So sometimes, there's specific processes that have to be followed, but when you can, when there's a little bit of fluidity or when there's room in there, just tell them the outcome you want.
Yes, and this actually leads into if we were to actually look at my newsletter, the leader that I wrote about, because she was my former leader who actually worked on developing me. And she did this so well. She would set the direction, she'd tell you what the boundaries, and then she'd step back, she'd let you do it. And unless you needed help, she would not come back in there. And she said, I don't care if, look, my hand is raised. Zoom raised my hand
Oh.
because I was raising my hand. Sorry, guys, ADHD. Yeah, well, let you raise your hand. I don't know. Oh, anyways, I got derailed. So, Amanda would say, she'd tell you exactly what she wanted, and she didn't care if it was on purple construction paper. What she cared about was the outcome. And she is actually the first leader that I took a lot of learnings from because of her approach. She was the first person that I worked for who worked in this space. She worked on developing all her people, so not just me, other people as well. And she asked them about their career goals, something that we didn't really touch over here, but she asked them about what are your goals? What do you want from for your career? What are your next steps? And she would help match that development with your strengths and also with your desire, right? Where you wanted to go. Um, so I don't know, it's just kind of funny how we're able to tie all that back too, and also giving you the autonomy to grow without stifling your growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of asking them what they are trying to achieve. There's something called the infinite game. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's this idea like Coca-Cola's been around for 100 some years or whatever it is. So they're not necessarily thinking, they're not really obsessing about Pepsi. I mean, they've been around long enough that they're doing their thing. Um, and they're big enough and they're powerful enough that they're doing their thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, there's some like, keeping up with the Joneses there, but they're playing the infinite game because they've been in it for so long. And so as managers, if we play the infinite game and we say, I'm a manager here, but I could be a manager anywhere. So I could take my skill set to a bunch of different companies. So I'm going to play the infinite game and I'm going to develop my people. I'm going to develop somebody to take my place. And so when I ask you, Lori, what are your goals? What are you looking to do? Do you want to get into management someday? And you're like, yeah, I want to get into management. Okay, let me help you. Let me set you up for this so that you can, get into management someday. You will have the skills. You will have the language and the verbiage and all this stuff, the tools and the frameworks and all that to be able to get into this someday. And I'm fine with that because I just go be a manager somewhere else.
Right.
Hopefully, I can. be promoted at this company, but if not, I'll just go someplace else.
So let's use that as an example real quick before we wrap up. You're a manager, you want to develop me to take over your job, and you say, "Hey, Lori, do you have an interest in being a manager?" While we're talking through my goals, and I say, "No, not really. I'm not really into the people side of things, or I want to develop. I want to work with people or develop people, but I want to do it more in the coaching space. I want to do it as an expert. I don't want to manage people. I have no interest in managing people." How would you handle that conversation?
I don't see why it's any different. So you want to be an expert in helping others develop?
I want to help others develop, but I don't want to have people reporting to me.
Okay,
So,
that's perfect. I can use that. That's great. Because I need a trainer. I need somebody who can train for me.
okay, so now that I'm interested in, well, that was easy. So that I would be interested in is doing training. But
So, and you know what I'm pulling that from is from my experience as director of sales and marketing at a trade show company. And so I was asking the salespeople that I hired, and I was asking the customer service people, like the customer service. There's one who I'll never forget her because I'm like, Tanya, what do you want to like? What do you want to do? What are your goals at the company? Like, what kind of role would you like to move up to? And she's like, nothing. I'm like, you. So there's not like you're not looking to like move up, beyond customer service, maybe do something different or be customer service manager or something like that. And she's like, no, I'm fine. I like what I do. I'm like, okay, awesome, because you're good at what you do. So you can be the awesome customer service rep person that I have forever. That's great. I love it. Okay, so now my salespeople, what do you want to? Well, someday I want to manage. Okay, then when I hire new salespeople, in order to get your feet wet, I'm gonna give you a small title. There's not going to be any bump in money or anything because I couldn't get that approved. But I'm going to give you this small title, and you could take this title, you could put this title on your resume. You're going to be my sales trainer. So that's going to give you experience managing other people. Yes, you're training them, but that's also kind of what management is. So you'll be my sales trainer. That's kind of how we're going to start that for you.
yeah, so I say that because that's a real thing. Like what, so I was Tanya, is that who you mentioned?
Yeah.
I was Tanya. I was just going to be the worker my whole life. I had no interest in managing people. I never wanted to be like, I wasn't that person that wanted to climb the corporate ladder. I just want to do my job and I want to do it well. And I would say you can see that in my career as well, as far as like my expertise. I always became the expert in that area when I was doing IT or Scrum, Agile, whatever it was, even data security topics. I became the expert in that area, and then I would move into training people because I was the expert. So that's sort of what I did, and then I moved over into the coaching space. But the reason I asked that question, what if you are a leader specifically working on trying to develop people, and you talk to someone about their goals, and the goal, what if you saw in me? I guess this is what I was trying to get at too. What if you saw in me the manager capabilities and it was me that you had your mind set on as the person you wanted to develop to move into that managerial role? And then when we had the conversation about my development, I continued to express I don't have the interest, or maybe more, I don't think I can do it. I don't think I can do it because I don't really have like the emotional intelligence. I don't have the patience for the people. I love training other people and helping them see their potential, but I don't know that I would be so good if it came to management of people's performance. I'm
Well,
curious.
look, I'm not here to convince you of something you don't want to do. It doesn't really matter if I see it in you. If you don't see it in yourself, I'm not going to try to convince you about it.
Well, so then
Like, so there's a difference though. Like there's a difference between somebody who doesn't see their own potential but wants to be that. But the scenario you're giving me is you're literally telling me I don't want that.
yeah.
So if you're telling me you don't want it, why am I going to try to make you have it? Like you don't want it. And that's cool because you can. be this, you could be the trainer for me for as long as you're fine staying at this company as the trainer. I would tell you, if you ever change your mind, I think you'd be great at management. So let me know. If you change your mind, let me know. We already have you on a path. We're already doing things to help you get there. So when you're ready for it, then make sure I know it. Make sure I know that you've changed your mind.
Okay. So you're the leader who still is very interested in developing people and developing them in a way that they want and works for them as well.
Well,
Um,
sure. I mean, that's how, if that's how you're going to be happy here, I want you to be happy here, right? I want to keep you. If you're happy here doing what you're doing, being the trainer and not being a manager, awesome. Then guess what? I never have to train another trainer again.
okay, that sounds good to me. And so Paul, I bring that up because I feel like these are scenarios that people face, and I know there's definitely people out there who they don't feel they need to train new leaders. They don't want to invest in their people. They look around at the people that work for them and they don't see their potential. I know that there's lots of people out there, in many types of companies, whether that's old school mentality or whatever. But then there's also scenarios, I think, where people do see the talent around them, but then the people don't want to move into those roles for one reason or another. Sometimes it's they don't trust their own abilities or they really just aren't interested. And so I bring that up because I wonder when people are listening, if there are people that listen to that think, I want to develop my people, but they don't want to be developed, or I don't know how to have these types of conversations. Like, what do I say when they resist it? Or maybe Lori wants to be the manager, but you think I'm better suited to be a trainer. Maybe you see in me that I'm not suited to be a people manager. That's another,
Yeah, and now we're getting into what is the personality of the manager, right?
yeah.
So my personality is if you want my job, here's what you got to do to get it, and you got to be better than me at it. And if you could take my job, hey, more power to you. You get to take my job, you know? But if I'm the one managing you and I'm giving you the skills to be able to take my job, does that really say that you deserve to take my job? Or does that say to my boss that I developed you and I should stay in the role? But again, now we come to the infinite game. Even if I develop you and my boss goes, yes, I want Lori over Paul, Paul, you're out. I'm in the infinite game, man. That's fine. I know what I did. I developed you. I developed my people. I developed you so you could be a leader and take my role. How good am I? So now I'm going to take my skill set someplace else and I could do the same over
Do the
there. I can
same
develop the
thing.
people there.
So tell me, before we wrap up, because this is all about building future leaders, and some people who want it, some people who don't, but which are the four commitments that matter? Because these are four commitments that matter, and I'm going to say them again just in case, right? Develop people on purpose is the first one. Two, trust them before they know they're ready. Three, lead with empathy, not ego. So being empathetic to people, right? Providing that psychological safety. And then four, giving autonomy with the guardrails, letting them do their thing and stepping back. Which of those do you think is important? So, Paul, to sort of end this discussion, which of the four commitments to have or build leaders from within your organization do you think are most important?
Empathy. Because if you don't, empathy is one of the core, you know, it's one of the main pillars of leadership, right?
Hmm.
And if you don't have empathy, you're not going to want to develop others. You're not going to want to trust others, and you're not going to delegate. So I would say empathy. What do you think?
I think so. And as I'm looking at my list, I was like, man, I should have put that first. Lead with empathy, not ego. But I do feel you have to develop people on purpose Like, which is why I listed it first. Like, you have to realize that your job as a leader is to grow others around you. It isn't just to bark orders and tell them what to do. You are to help people get better. So developing people on purpose, it stands out to me as the one that's most important, like having that intent, but you definitely have to have empathy in order to do it well.
And you have to see that in developing others, you are serving yourself. Just like you put in that paragraph, you're giving yourself capacity to do other things to be better.
Yes. And I would say, if anything summed that up, that's the best way to do it. So I think we can end there.
All right.
So be sure to develop people on purpose.
That's right. And like and subscribe
Yes.
and comment down below.
And tell us what you want to hear besides just how to handle difficult people. All right. Thank you,
Awesome.
everyone.
Thank you.